Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a writer. People say to me all the time, how can you have this condition? Oh, by the way, one of the things that people think because I've been successful as a writer is that I no longer have this condition. Well, I'm just as bitten by this today as I was when I was flunking the fourth grade. I mean, I was writing a telephone number down not too long ago, and if the number was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I wrote 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Completely wrote it backwards. And when I was putting it in my briefcase, I thought, there's no 765 precinct in Los Angeles and you know, area code, and I'm thinking, my God, and I looked back, and the next time I saw it correctly, and I realized that I completely had mirror written the number. So it hasn't left me. So how can I be successful? Well, you know, spelling and writing are two completely separate categories. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. They think, well, writing includes the spelling of words, so therefore if you can't spell, you can't write. Well, I write phonetically, and I can't spell half the words I use. And this was one of the things, by the way, that was tremendously difficult for me as I was growing up, because my writing was not probably anywhere near as good as it could have been, because I was only trying to use the words that I thought I knew how to spell, not all the words in my vocabulary when I would write a paper or an essay or something like that. I went to the University of Oregon. I had a guy, an instructor there, his name was Ralph Salisbury. I took creative writing. I wanted to be a writer. I always loved writing, but I never thought that I could really become a writer, because obviously writing has to do with English and spelling, and I was always horrible at that. And one of the things that I did at the University of Oregon, because I knew I couldn't pass a course if the course had a requirement of 3 misspellings as a flunk, which some teachers actually employed that. So I would sign up for 20 units instead of 12, which was a full boat of classes at Oregon. And then I would go around the first day of class, and I would ask every instructor, what's your policy on misspellings? And if they said, well, you know, I'm a science teacher, I don't care about spelling, just make it so I can read it, then I'd keep the course. If the teacher said 3 misspellings is a flunk, I would drop it. And when I asked Ralph Salisbury that my sophomore year when I signed up for his creative writing course, he said, look, I don't care about the spelling. He said, you know, I mean, I wish you could spell correctly. Just make it so I can read it. I don't want to be struggling here trying to figure out what the word is. But he said, I want to ask you to do something else, Steve, since spelling is obviously a problem. He said, I want you to use all the words in your vocabulary, not just the words that you think you can spell. And of course, as I said, that's what I was doing. If I needed the word conspicuous, which I can't spell, I would write easy to see instead of conspicuous, which is not as nice a way of presenting that idea. So Ralph basically opened everything up for me, turned all the lights on for me. He made my career for me, because not only did he give me that freedom to use all the words in my vocabulary, but one day I handed the story into him, and he handed it back, and on the top of the story it said, see me, office hours, Ralph. I've had this note before, it's always bad news. You know, I went to his office hours. This was my favorite course that I had in college, was this writing course, and I thought I was sure I was going to get dumped out. I was sure he was going to pitch me. And I went into his office, and he closed the door, and he said, I want to tell you something, I don't want you to ever forget it. And I said, what's that? He said, you have a gift. God has given you a gift. And he said, you must never fail to use this gift. He said, if you may not choose to be a writer full-time or as your vocation, it may just be an avocation, but you must always write because you have a gift. He said, I've been teaching creative writing at Oregon for 15 years, and you're one of the 1 or 2 best students it's ever been my privilege to instruct. I'm thinking, what? Because I was the guy they were having meetings about in the teacher's room after school to decide whether I could go to the next grade level in high school. And now here this guy, my favorite teacher, was telling me I had a gift from God. Big moment in my life. It still gives me chills to remember it. And it's probably the reason I'm sitting in this big lush office today, because had I not had that encouragement from Ralph, that wonderful belief from somebody who I viewed as a professional, he was also a published writer, and you know, I wouldn't have probably had the courage to try.